Okay. Okay.
There we go. Yeah.
The Ramsey County Board of Commissioners meeting is called to order. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Fretham,
Here.
Modis Castillo,
Here.
McDonough,
Here.
McGuire,
Here.
Ortega,
Aye.
Reinhardt,
Here.
Carter.
Here. Thank you very much. Commissioner McGuire, would you please say the Pledge of Allegiance for us as we all mute?
Yes, Madam Chair. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. The agenda for our February 16th meeting is here for approval. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second,
Thank you, Commissioners Reinhardt and McGuire. Is there any comment or discussion on the agenda? Roll call, please.
McGuire,
aye.
Ortega,
Aye.
Reinhardt,
Aye.
Fretham,
Aye.
Modis Castillo,
Aye.
McDonough,
Aye.
Carter.
Aye. Thank you. The agenda has passed and we're on to the minutes of February 9th. Is there a motion?
So moved. Second.
Thank you, Commissioners Ortega and McDonough. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
McGuire,
Aye.
Ortega,
Aye.
Reinhardt,
Aye.
Fretham,
Aye.
Modis Castillo,
Aye.
McDonough,
Aye.
Carter.
Aye. Thank you very much. The minutes have passed and we have the honor of having an oath administered today by Judge John Gutzman to our County Assessor Luis Rosario. I do see Luis Rosario is there with
Morning, Commissioner.
family. Good morning, and how are you?
Well,
And yes, doing well.
yes, thank
And
you.
I'm looking for the judge. Let's see.
Yep. Diaz.
Yes, we are ready. Thank you.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
I see the courtroom. I don't see the judge, but let's move forward then.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Thank you.
All right. You don't need to see me if you can hear me.
Okay.
All right. Mr. Rosario, repeat after me with your hand raised. I, Luis Rosario.
Yes,
Can you hear me, Mr. Rosario?
yes,
Repeat after me. I, Luis Rosario,
I, Luis Rosario,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Minnesota,
and the Constitution of the State of Minnesota,
and that I will faithfully and impartially
exercise and discharge
the duties of the position of Ramsey County Assessor,
duties of the position of Ramsey County Assessor,
to which I have been appointed,
to which I have been appointed,
to the best of my ability and understanding,
to the best of my ability and understanding.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you, Judge Guzman.
Thank you very much. We're all clapping physically. Don't see the claps on the participant list. That's because we're all so excited and we couldn't go electronic on that. Thank you so very, very much, Judge Guzman. We do see you on the screen. And thank you very much to Luis Rosario. I hope that you will provide an introduction for us and also a few comments.
Sure. Thank you, Madam Chair, Commissioners. Thank you for the opportunity and for your confidence to reappoint me as the Ramsey County Assessor. I am honored, and my incredible staff and I are excited to continue to do the statutory work of providing equitable valuations and classification of properties. And doing so with a compassionate lens and always with the county's vision, mission, and goals and strategic priorities in mind. It's even more important now that we continue to do the work to engage our property owners with so many things going on this pandemic and these current economic conditions that we face. So thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Commissioners. Thank you, County Manager O'Connor. Thank you, Deputy County Manager Francois. I look forward to continue working with our senior management across our service teams. And I also want to take a minute to introduce you to my wife, Inell. We just celebrated our 33rd wedding anniversary. She's truly my soulmate and my best friend.
Thank you so much. Once again, we're clapping and very, very joyful and thankful that you're here. I see hearts up. Arnell, thank you so much for sharing Luis with us. Luis, we so appreciate your flexibility, your expertise in planning, your guidance of an incredible staff, and your responsiveness during these times, as we have seen this past year. It has been so important to us and will in coming years. We're thankful that you will be here with us and that we've been able to witness the oath today. Once again, thank you to our judge as well. We are just thrilled to have been able to witness the oath today. Are there any comments from commissioners? I see no hands raised, just joy. One. Thank you. Commissioner Matis Castillo, did you have a comment?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair, and congratulations, Luis. It is always a pleasure to work with you, but I think it's really important that people understand that the assessor's office, unlike maybe any other time under your leadership, is accessible and really is helpful. I hear often from constituents who said, I called the assessor's office and he immediately helped me and it was easy. And so that really demonstrates your commitment to residents first. And it's such a pleasure to have you and to work closely with you. And when you talk about compassionate regulation, I've witnessed that firsthand. And so I really think this is a great opportunity and your continued leadership for us at Ramsey County. So congratulations. I look forward to continued successes with you.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you for your comments, Commissioner Matis Castillo. Commissioner Ortega?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to say, I want to echo what Trista said. I've had the opportunity of actually making site visits with Luis. And he's not only does he knows the technical, but he knows how to work with people. And there have been some situations where folks were upset, and he's done a great job of really connecting with folks. I'm very proud of him. I've known him since he was in high school, and I know his mom and dad very well. As a matter of fact, when I first came here to go to graduate school, his mom and dad were how would I say, my foster parents. So I'm very proud to see him, and his wife is fantastic in her own right. She's a doctor. And so very proud. The community, the West Side, very proud of Luis Rosario.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you so much. So we've just heard of your accessibility, your warmth and welcoming, your ability to connect with people, and that you're a hometown guy. So once again, we appreciate you so much and look forward to your continuing years of service. Again, to Arnell, thank you for sharing with us this morning. And we're just delighted to be able to witness the oath.
Okay, thank you.
All right, we are celebrating today yet another opportunity to hear recognition of our Public Works Department. We have guests on the line who will present an award. I am going to welcome the county manager to introduce our guests, and then we'll hear the award. County Manager O'Connor.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members. Good morning. Our guests awards today being presented by the County Engineers Association to Ramsey County, and I believe Ted Schenecker from Public Works will be here to receive those awards. And we have Brian Geese, the current president of the Minnesota County Engineers Association, with us to do the presentation. Brian, good to see you, and please take it away.
Thank you. Good to see you too. And thank you, Madam Chair and members. It's a great opportunity to address the Ramsey County Board today, and my pleasure certainly to announce publicly the achievements of Ramsey County through the leadership of your county engineer, Ted Schenecker, and all of his staff. Ramsey County was presented 2 awards at this year's annual County Engineers Conference, which we held in January. And the first award is for Project of the Year. The Project of the Year award recognizes the unique, difficult, and special projects being delivered by counties. Award-winning projects typically include a good safety record, innovative designs, stringent environmental concerns, extensive community relations, and public involvement. The 694 Rice Street Interchange project required significant coordination with MnDOT and municipal consent from 3 municipalities. Strong communication was required with state legislators, city councils, and the public in order to deliver this project. The project also required coordination with other ongoing projects and utilities beyond the scope of any typical county delivered projects. At $22 million price tag, this single project, as a matter of scope, exceeds my 5-year capital improvement program in its entirety by $6 million. So congratulations to Ramsey County for this award. I'll pause there if you have any comments about that particular award. I have another one as well.
Thank you very much. And watching the screen, I don't see hands up at this time. I do see hands up at this time. And I'm going to call on Commissioner Fretham for a comment on this award. Commissioner Fretham.
Thank you, Chair Carter. Just wanted to extend my thanks once again to the Ramsey County Public Works team now that the interchange is open and we're using it. I know there were lots of concerns in the community regarding the use of the roundabouts, but it sure seems like folks are figuring it out and we're making our way through, and it's an interchange I use almost daily. So very grateful to have it done, and really, really proud of the work that went into it. So thank you.
Thank you very much. I see Commissioner McGuire, Commissioner McDonough after Commissioner McGuire. Commissioner McGuire.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just going to add my thanks and gratitude to Commissioner Fretham's, to our Public Works Department, and that intersection borders my district as well. And we heard a lot of angst early on about the construction and, you know, where the roundabout's going to be. And I think, you know, once you put them in, people get used to them and they don't want you to take them out. We're grateful for the work, and just thank you for the award. Thanks for the recognition. We know that our Public Works Department works really hard and just tries to do the best job they can. So it's great to be recognized. So thank you, Brian, and congratulations, Ted, and your whole team for this great work.
Commissioner McDonough.
I just want, congratulations, Ted. You and your team did an amazing job. I just wanted to say hi to Brian, or pass across many times. And the wonders of Zoom allow you to be here. But Brian, I would suggest next time you're in town, you should drive through that intersection. You might get some ideas for fixing a really unsafe intersection in your county.
Thank you. And I should probably turn to Brian for any response there. We appreciate so much the celebration of this project. Brian, and we know you have another.
Thank you, thank you. The second award that was presented to Ramsey County was the Minnesota County Engineers Safety Achievement Award. The Safety Achievement Award recognizes the county that's taken a major step toward implementing a proven safety strategy. Ramsey County took a major step forward by completing an evaluation on 22 existing 4-lane undivided roadways for potential conversion to 3-lane roadways. 4-lane undivided roads have significant challenges for drivers and pedestrians, but like many challenges, the reduction from a 4-lane to 3-lane road can be controversial. Ramsey County demonstrated a strong, objective process to gain the consent of stakeholders and the public to complete this study, which will yield significant highway safety improvements for residents, businesses, and guests of Ramsey County. So again, thank you and congratulations to Ramsey County on this important award.
Thank you very much. Again, hands are up and physical claps are happening. We so appreciate your recognition of the work that was done to assess these 4 lanes. And I have a number of commissioners who would like to share. Commissioner Matas Castillo, Commissioner McDonough, and Commissioner Reinhardt. Okay, Commissioner Matas Castillo, then Commissioner Reinhardt.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and congratulations. We had the opportunity to really talk about this study last week at a board workshop, and we're excited to know that this is also receiving an award. For us, this, the safety of our pedestrians and our drivers and people in Ramsey County is imperative, and this study will allow us to take proactive steps as opposed to reactionary steps when we have a loss of life. And so really encourage our celebration of this award and encourage our residents to see that we really are putting your best interest in stake, and our public works is thinking outside of the box. They're looking forward to say, how do we make the best county in Minnesota? And they're doing a great job at that. So congratulations to the team. Now let's implement. Let's go to the next phase.
Thank you, Commissioner Matas Castillo. Commissioner Reinhardt.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I decided to save my congratulations after both awards were given. And really what this comes down to, as Commissioner Matas Castillo said, I mean, public safety and communication and trying to make sure that people understand and can really witness how much of an improvement this is. But it's all about no matter what we are doing, whether it's the long-awaited construction on 694 and Rice Street, or the 4 to 3 lane or 3 to 4 lane conversion. The bottom line is we're living what we have put together as far as a vision, and that's the All Abilities Transportation Network, and that's all about safety and helping people get to where they need to be and want to be. And I'm just really thrilled about the award. So congratulations to a great team.
Again, thank you so very much, Commissioner Reinhardt. Thank you, Brian, for being here for these celebrations, these recognitions, and our celebration of the recognitions. And thank you so much to you, Ted, for your leadership of the work that has been done. You shared with us just last week, I believe it was, past projects, plans, the 4 to 3 lane conversions, and we are so appreciative. We're so appreciative of your attention to all of the aspects of projects and plans that are being put in place here in Ramsey County, for your recognition and for your implementation of our vision for an all abilities network that serves all in our county. I'd love to just hear a few thoughts, concluding thoughts also from Ted. Brian, I'm not taking the floor away from you. We'll certainly wrap up with you. Ted.
Thank you, Madam Chair, Commissioners. A couple of thoughts come to mind in this. The first one is again, just thanking Brian Geese and the Minnesota County Engineers Association as a whole. in all the organizations I've been a part of, this is the top-notch one. A group that comes together when questions are out there, when issues are out there, and works across any boundaries, any issues to resolve things that are out there for all of us for the good of the transportation system. So I'm just I'm fortunate to be part of such a strong organization like MCEA. Secondly, this isn't being done by me. I mean, this is the appreciation of all of our staff and the work that they're doing on these projects and the studies and pushing boundaries where we should be pushing boundaries and edges and doing things differently where we need to do things differently. And so really, I don't want to start naming any staff in this because as soon as you start naming them, you forget them, but it's really acknowledging the public works staff and the partnerships that we have across our department in delivering projects like this. Third, you can't see it, but if you were to look over my shoulder, when I walked in the door in this office 3 years ago, there is a letter framed to the wall, and it is a letter from then Commissioner Dick Stair to Tony Bennett and Paul Kirkwold saying, and this is a 1999 letter, saying that MnDOT is going to find the money to pay for the reconstruction of Rice Street and 694. That's 1999, that's 20 plus years ago. And kudos to the county and the county board and previous public works director for taking all the steps to make this project happen. These projects don't happen in isolation. They happen because of partnerships. They happen because of partnerships with the county board to staff among staff, departments among departments, with the cities, with the community. These aren't things that get done in isolation. And so it's really about maintaining and developing and growing those partnerships on projects like this, on studies like this, such that we build trust in the community with what we're doing. So again, thanks to Brian and MCA for recognizing Ramsey County with these 2 awards.
Thank you so very, very much, Ted. Somehow I knew you'd give credit to your excellent staff. We do too. Thank you for your innovation, for your excellence, for your work with community, and for all of the accomplishments that we have looking forward to as well. And back to Brian.
Madam Chair, I just say thank you. It's nice to see many of you again. I've seen and had an opportunity to visit with many of you at AMC conferences and stuff. So nice to see you and thank you for that. And congratulations again on your awards. And as no surprise to you, you have a true rock star in Ted. He's one of our best and a great member of the association, appreciated on all levels and certainly deserving of these awards. So thank you.
Thank you for all your work and for being with us today. And so board members will move on from this celebration to information as is regular in our board meetings about COVID-19. I'll turn to the county manager.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Members, today is information set up in the packet where it links to our dashboard, more than a full-blown update. I did have just a brief update to share with you, however, and we do have Dr. Ogawa and Deputy County Manager Hadeen with us on Zoom today if there are specific questions. Right now, we're in this space where cases are low, and that's a good thing. Transmission rates are down. That's a great thing. And we've seen an uptick in vaccination, as you've been able to read about in the paper, I'm sure, as we go forward. All of those are good things. The variants showing up in Minnesota and across the country, and really this is a global pandemic everywhere in the world, is a big concern because the vaccines do not have the same level of effectiveness depending upon the variant for which we're talking. It'll lead down the road of the need for booster shots, as Dr. Ogawa mentioned last week. And so waiting to see what happens with the variants and their potential to quickly explode in terms of case numbers is going to be a big deal. Waiting to see state direction to go from 1A to 1B and through that list beyond so that we can vaccinate as many people as quickly as possible in an equitable way. And tomorrow, from 1 to 7 p.m. It's scheduled to vaccinate 800 people from healthcare with a little bit of education mixed in as well. So as uncertainty in other areas creeps in, just this morning from the county manager video that was recorded that'll go out with our message today. Oh, I'm sorry. I mentioned that let me step back on one thing I said. I'm getting a real-time update of where I made a mistake. The The large-scale clinic is today from 1 to 7. I said tomorrow because I got my update yesterday. So today from 1 to 7 p.m., 800 people from healthcare and education will be vaccinated. I apologize for the misstep. From the county manager column today talks about the idea that we said we would check in with our employee base on or around April 1st for our return to work status and where things stand. Today's column will say we're going to continue to go a few months at a time on this conversation as we continue to learn more as we go. Memorial Day is a better check-in time at this point than April 1st. So we said, as of now, we're going to maintain the current work environment that we're in up to at least Memorial Day, with a check-in again coming a little bit before that. And we will continue to keep everyone posted as we go. We continue to work on a flexible work from home policy that will help us, a flexible workplace policy that'll be with us beyond the pandemic as well, and hopefully guide what the future of our organization looks like, and looking forward to talking about that more with all of you in the months ahead. That's all I've got, Madam Chair. Dr. Ogawa and Deputy County Manager Hadeen are here along with me to answer any questions any of you might have. Madam Chair, you were on mute if you called on somebody, I think.
Okay, so that's why Commissioner Reinhardt did not speak up. I will call on Commissioner Reinhardt. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, I have a very simple question, because the question that I keep getting and trying to, referring to someone else is, how does somebody check to make sure they're on the list? If they've signed up, it seems like it goes into Never Never Land. And so it seems like a silly question to keep forwarding to someone, but how can somebody check? For vaccination, obviously.
Sure. Madam Chair, Commissioner Reinhardt, I'll do my best, but I'm going to then go to Deputy County Manager Hadeen if she can add to this, or Dr. Ogawa. Since the state is managing most of the vaccination pieces through a website, I don't know how much, I can't tell you specifically then how that list effectively gets managed. Kathy, can you share any specifics of what we know behind the scenes to that answer, or is there any information that we could hunt down to get a better answer on that?
It's a good question. I think, and it's tough because a lot of people have called and they've gone online and they've gotten their names on a list and they get a note, and sometimes and it says, we will get back to you, so please be patient and wait. And that's unfortunately the guidance right now is to be patient and wait. MDH is managing those lists and they are calling people to get people into vaccination clinics. The same goes for, if you have a healthcare home, keep connecting with your healthcare provider to check on whether or not they have appointments available for vaccine. When it comes to organizations who are in that phase 1A and you've gone onto our website and put your name into the employer list, we do keep track of that list. Some of those things, some of the places are being managed by MDH, and we work with MDH to compare our list to make sure that when an organization is contacted and is vaccinated, that we remove them from our list. But people can contact our site as well. You can go onto ramseycounty.us/coronavirus and check in with us to see where you are at on the list, and we can help you as well.
And Madam Chair, Deputy County Manager, but the list through Ramsey County is not individuals, it is organizations, and then within that list, hopefully it's an organizational list.
Correct.
So it's a very different list than what's with the Minnesota Department of Health, and I want to make sure that people understand that as well. Okay, thank you. You're on mute, Tony.
Yep. Yes, I'm sorry. Commissioner Fretham.
Thank you, Chair Carter. So I know I had exchanged a few emails with the Deputy County Manager about this, but questions regarding staff who provide home health care through community-directed community supports grants. Because the person getting the care is the employer at record, it seems like they may be falling through the cracks in getting on vaccine priority lists or being identified. So just wondering if you've got any more information or updates about that, in terms of the most vulnerable in our community, wanting to make sure that we are catching folks who have really been impacted by this, both for their own vulnerabilities, but also their staff and challenges in getting that support.
Madam Chair and Commissioner Fretham, I do appreciate that you brought this to our attention. This is a tricky one because of what is provided to us through the Department of Human Services at the state level. I had to do a little learning here too to understand that people are indeed considered the employer here. And so this is a gap that we are working with both our Social Services Director, Ann Berry, and with the Minnesota Department of Health to make sure that we are getting the appropriate lists of people that we have within Ramsey County to make sure that they are indeed on lists and that we are finding ways to make sure we are providing them with vaccines. So we are still in the midst of gathering that information and happy to return a follow-up message to you once we have an identified plan. It's possible that some of these people are getting vaccine and I'm just not aware yet, but we will have follow-up for you soon. Thank you for bringing it forward.
Thank you. I will call on Commissioner Matas-Castillo.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to share one additional resource. I know we've talked about it in the past, and that is for any veterans who get care at the VA. Yesterday, there was a clinic for vaccines at the Minneapolis VA, and it was show up at 8 o'clock, and by 10 o'clock, all of the 400 doses of, that were allotted were distributed. But for veterans who want a little more assurance or to have some information, they can go on va.gov and sign up to get updates. So when there are vaccines available at the Minneapolis VA or other VA clinics, they can get an alert so that they can get that vaccine. They're currently giving vaccines to veterans who are 65 and older and veterans who are care providers. Or medical care providers, or in the certified care provider program that they're caring for a disabled veteran. So some spouses. I participated in a national update from the VA last Friday talking about the rollout and the vaccine distributions. And so as we've heard week after week, it's complicated. Ramsey County is working really hard. The state of Minnesota is working really hard. And so I would encourage veterans who have the ability to access through the VA that they use that system so that they're using the vaccines that are available and we can get more to community in this really complicated system. So it's va.gov and there's a immediate pop-up comes up to say get informed, and you'll get email and text notification when vaccines are ready for veterans.
Thank you very much for highlighting that, Commissioner Matas-Castillo. And that is for veterans, not only who are served through the Veterans Administration for medical care, but for all veterans. Is that correct?
That's correct. It is for all veterans, even if you don't currently have an active case or you haven't already enrolled. If you have a veteran status or your DD-214, which would make you eligible for that vaccine. If you're already enrolled in VA healthcare, then you're in the system and you don't need to bring any additional documentation.
Thank you for your attention and provision of that information. Commissioner McGuire.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Director Hedin and Dr. Ogawa, for all of your work. These questions just keep coming, and we know that there aren't answers to all of them, and I think mine will be the same. It's about people who are actually caregivers in the home with a person who is eligible. I've heard the inconsistency is where this question comes up, is that so people said, no, if there's a caregiver in the home, they can also get the shot when they bring their when they give the eligible person in for the shot. But we're not, is our state not at that point, or is our county not at that point where if you're actually living with the caregiver, you're the caregiver living with the person who gets the shot? Do you know anything more about that?
We're both waiting to see who's going to answer this one. Madam Chair and Commissioner McGuire, it depends is the answer. This is tough, right? We all, not all of us, but many of us are around people who are eligible, but we're not eligible because we don't fit into those phased guidelines. So it really depends. If they're the actual caregiver and they're down as the caregiver, then they, as for home health care, that would put them in an eligible group. But still, how you get the appointment, where you get it, it is complicated, and it does depend. So it's not necessarily the case where if the person eligible, say the older person in the home, did finally get their appointment, they went in to get their appointment, that there is a vaccine for that caregiver. There likely is not, because they would need an appointment at that time. Dr.
The only
Dodd.
thing that I would add also is that because there are different organizations following different current levels as well. So let's say an individual, the VA may have enough to offer to the caregivers as well. That's a wonderful situation. Health partners may not. They are only contacting their patients actually over 75 right now. And so they would only be allowed to get a vaccine with the person that they are taking care of if health partners, if they met health partners level of need as well. We as a county are still providing it to caregivers, and then we will gradually expand. But yeah,
It's just interesting, and I'll confirm all of that. Since my mother got the shot last week, and I was going to bring her in, and I'm her main caregiver, but they wouldn't give me the shot. I'm not quite 65 yet, and I said, "But what if something happens to the caregiver?" But that's okay. I'm glad my brother, the teacher, got the vaccine, and I'm home. So, but it's just, I feel bad for other caregivers who may not be in my situation, who really do. My mother depends on me, but other people who really depend on their caregivers. So it's a tough one. But I've heard other states where they say, "Oh, no, if you're the caregiver, you get the shot." But that's just what you hear. So is this a state rule or a federal guideline?
It sounds as though it's being interpreted in different ways. Dr. Ogawa?
yeah. The short answer is yes to all of that. Unfortunately, it's the interpretation of a federal recognition of the rollout, and then there's a whole lot of levels of interpretation.
Mm-hmm. And so we are working through it. Thank you for raising the issue and focusing our attention. Commissioner Ortega.
Thank you, Madam Chair. My question is very similar. In the last week or so, I've had Zoom meetings with various folks from the disability community. And you kind of explained it all. I mean, number one is many disabled folks are not in the first tier, the 1Bs, the 1As, or whatever. And quite frankly, let me tell you, they think Ramsey County is doing a wonderful job, but so they're not. It was good meetings because it's convoluted. And I guess I'm changing my question after hearing your answers to everybody else. And that is, we need to help folks clarify, and I know this is hard, the federal, the state, the county, folks this is no longer, you could be as educated and as sophisticated as hell, and you still don't know what's going on in many cases. And so I don't know what I'm even asking you, because I know you guys are doing a great job. But this is getting to be very difficult. And they do have, these advocates have a meeting with the governor's office this week to talk about these issues. But I'm scared that only convolutes, so you keep adding rules on top of rules on top of rules, and pretty soon we need to have people just to figure out what rule book we're going to. So I just, how do you see this unfolding? Do you see any, these lists are just going, they're not being helpful.
Madam Chair.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Madam Chair, Commissioner Ortega, I'm going to take a shot at a little bit of this because it kind of moves into that area of how we interpret, right? As you've been hearing, with gray areas that will only get larger over the next couple of months. I don't think it's going to get more clear. It's actually probably going to feel even less. I think the spot that we will continue to work on, and we'll check back in on this with all of you next week, is it's less about how we communicate the strict the categories right now of individuals. We're doing that. The point you're making is that even when you do that, it's very confusing. How we are choosing to then do our best to prioritize within that and make decisions in the moment there's some principles that underpin that, right, around access and equity, risk, ensuring we use every available dose, and we can do some more to continue to make that information also available alongside it, which it's not going to answer every question. I don't mean to pretend that it will, but it helps people understand in our brains how health officials on the ground are doing their best to make these decisions as people present, and we have to make them. And that's something that we can keep working on and keep making the information stronger, and we'll come back next week and talk about that some more.
Thank you. In the meantime, we'll move along. We have one final question here from Commissioner McDonough.
Thanks, Madam Chair. Real quick, if you recall, a couple weeks ago, I brought up the issue about seniors, my mom being one of them, who lives in independent living, 89, every risk factor that they possibly can have, but wasn't considered long-term care because it was independent living and frustration, all that. I do want to maybe end on a good note story. My mom called me last Friday. My sister took her in. Her health plan is getting shots to 75 and older. She got her shot, and she called me up, and she was just so excited, and she's looking forward to two things: a hug and going shopping at Target. And I tell you, the frustration you hear from everybody, but the impact that this has on people in our community is just amazing. So every single one of those shots is so valuable to somebody. But I wanted to end on a good news story here. And I'll be giving her a hug here. She gets her second shot on March 3rd. She actually said, "You've had COVID, so you've got the antibodies. I've had the one shot. Maybe we could do it quicker."
Thank you, Commissioner, for that good news story. We appreciate it. We also appreciate all of the updates and information here, responses to our questions, and we know that we are working our way through, perhaps through confusion, but to additional clarity as time goes by and as we are continuing to fight this COVID-19 impact in our community. I do want to pause for a moment for our intentional moment of silence and recognizing all of the struggle, continuing ongoing crises in our community, as well as the work that we are collectively doing to combat COVID-19, the economic stress and social stress in our community. That moment. Thank you. It was a short moment, not completely silent, but I thank you for your focus on mindfulness as we move forward. I'm going to just check back in with the county manager in case there are any final statements before we move on.
Yeah, Madam Chair, I have one actual quick question for Kathy. I'm going to put her on the spot. I think she'll have the answer on it, so hopefully it's fair. Kathy, so the 800 individuals who are getting vaccinated today, you talked last week about how we were holding a number of vaccines back for some events to occur, and that was also having an impact on our supply and our data and what it shows. Is this one of the events that'll bring down that supply number? Would this relate to some of what you were referencing last week?
Madam Chair and County Manager O'Connor, that's a good question. Our colleague Laura, who makes sure that where we're at on our dashboard with numbers, is out on vacation this week. I am actually not sure if these are first doses or second doses. It could actually be a mixture of both, is what I'm thinking, since it's a very large number that we're vaccinating today, especially since we're bringing in some educators. I would think that it's their number twos. So you will see that this will get a big chunk of our current lot of vaccines down. And as we continue through the week, we have multiple clinics as well that we will chop at that. We're also working with the Minnesota Department of Health because, as you know, the state does want to try to move to 1B, and it's a little bit difficult within Hennepin County, Minneapolis, St. Paul, Ramsey County, because we have so many employers and businesses with people who fit into the 1As. And so actually MDH is working with the larger local public health departments to get at that number as quickly as possible so that we as a state can move on to 1B as well. So hopefully some good news in that area and movement soon.
Thanks, Kathy. Final follow-up comments from me in that you heard that Laura's taking a couple of days off this week. I want to first give credit to Kathy for convincing her to do it. And the reason I bring that up with the board is, you know, at the end of the year, we sought to get leaders, particularly those who had been working across the incident management structure, but leaders actually across the organization. I sought to ensure that they got at least 3 days off. Many people had not had 3 consecutive days off the entire year. And it was a fight to even carve out 3 days over holiday times because it just doesn't get quiet right now. Public health, there were folks who couldn't do that at the time because that was the beginning of the vaccine rollout and there was so much else going on. And the director of public health here today has until the end of February to get some of her team some days off or they're going to all get some mandatory days off. And so I'm really happy to hear that Laura's taking some time. I'm trying to make sure that Kathy and Dr. Ogawa can as well. And I just bring that up from the human side of this response. The same folks who've been leading testing for 12 months are now showing up on the vaccine side, and we're doing what we can to carve it out. It's just impossible to find a good moment, and so we're doing the best we can to find a moment. And and so thanks to Kathy, and I know it's not a lot of fun to take time off when it's 16 below out. My final comment will just be to reflect back on the comments that a number of you made today. I wish we had better answers, and I'm sorry we can't give you more definitive stuff. What we often are able to do, though, is hear what you're saying and what you're hearing and reflect on that over the week. And every week, our goal is to just get a little bit sharper. And so in our answers, it's trying to reflect the best info we have while also saying, like, your comments today we'll take back and be reflective of and see where we can continue to build on it. With that, Madam Chair, thank you very much.
Thank you. Sounds fair. And to Dr. Ogawa and Deputy Hadeen, we hope that at some point we will not see you on our call. We'll know that you're out and taking your 3 days, such as you deserve. Thank you so very, very much. We're going to move on to our administrative items. I'll call on Commissioner McGuire.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to move item number 6, single source agreement with Regents Hospital for inpatient hospital commitment services. I'd like to move item 7, agreement with Gulf Public Incorporated for state intergovernmental relations, consulting and lobbyist services. Item number 8, access agreement with Ramsey Washington Metro Watershed District for Keller Channel Weir Dam improvements in Keller Regional Park. Item number 9, Battle Creek Regional Park and Pigs Eye Lake Master Plan Amendment.
Yes, sir. Madam Chair, I'd like to pull that, please.
Pull that one. Thank you. Item number 10, certification of property assessed clean energy charges for energy improvements. I'd like to move number 11, 2021 to 2025 Transportation Improvement Program. And item number 12, appointment to the Ramsey Washington Metro Watershed District Board of Managers. And I so move, Madam Chair.
Second.
Thank you for the motion, and there is a second. All items other than item number 9 are being moved forward. Is there any discussion on those items except number 9? Roll call, please.
McGuire,
Aye.
Ortega,
Aye.
Reinhardt,
Aye.
Fretham,
Aye.
Matas Castillo,
Aye.
McDonough,
Aye.
Carter,
Aye. And so those motions those items except number 9 have moved forward, and we're now on number 9, which is Battle Creek.
Move
Madam
approval.
Chair.
Second.
I'm sorry. Thank you. There is a motion and a second on number 9. I did hear Commissioner Reinhardt
Madam Chair, and I'll just say it here, I did not pull item 12, but I do want to thank the Ramsey Washington Metro Watershed District Board Manager, Marge Ebensteiner, for her years of service.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And so we are back on number 9, and a second. Is there any comment? I should call on, I'm sorry, Commissioner McDonough.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm going to read an email I got from, I know a lot of you have been getting some emails, some phone calls, and maybe even some requests for meetings on this one. But I want to read an email from a constituent of mine. She lives by Pig's Eye, is a trusted community leader. And so I just want, she puts this in a good framework, and then I'll have some comments, but I want to read her email. As you likely know, Ramsey County Parks and Rec Commission has a monthly meeting this Wednesday. This was written on January 9th. And on the agenda is the Pig's Eye Master Plan and Improvement Project. Since I found out about it, I've been looking into the details, the facts and data, and concluded early on that I support this project. The data and science speak to sound improvements that will be made once implemented. As you also probably know, not everybody feels the same. We know there are people attending the meeting that oppose the development. That by itself is not what bothers me, but the information they are using and sharing about their opposition is strictly not true in several cases. About being illegal for dredge materials to be used this way, that the dredge materials are hazardous waste. I was the hazardous waste licensing coordinator for the state for a few years, so that statement incenses me. That there have been no public engagement and that the county denied engaging in outreach to BIPOC and et cetera. I am struggling to maintain the level of professionalism needed for Wednesday's conversation, but will remain a positive representative of this commission and the county. Now go to our ending statement here because there's some personal stuff in there. Otherwise, I hope we can get your formal support on this project and allow this much needed East Side development to finally happen. And I do fully support this project. And I want to recognize the work that Mark and his team have done in a really emotionally charged situation. We've got a small group in our community that have chosen to be inflammatory in their response. They've chosen to be very, very loose in their facts and how they present those facts. And it's been very disruptive. As this individual pointed out in her email, opposition and disagreement is actually good and it's healthy, but it's how we approach that and our behaviors and how we manage that actually get us to a really good spot in this. And so I just want to recognize it's been tough on Mark. It's been tough on his team because they've had to deal with this for a long time. And they've been extremely professional and they've stayed focused in on the facts. They've stayed focused in on the long-term value and benefit to this investment. And so I wholeheartedly support this and recognize the work that they've done and looking forward to this investment and seeing this occur. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Commissioner. Commissioner Ortega.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I too have been engaging folks on this issue over the last month or so. And I would like Mark to address, just so people get educated in terms of the process, do we have city support on this? And did we go through a process with the city of St. Paul?
Thank you.
Yep. Madam Chair, Commissioners, Commissioner Ortega, we did not receive a formal letter of support from the city of St. Paul. We approached the local council member about support, and some of the opponents of the project had spoken with her and had voiced their concern about what they felt was not adequate public engagement. And so she felt that there ought to have been additional public engagement and did not decide to bring that to the city council. We had a discussion about whether or not to seek out another sponsor and go to the city council for seeking approval, and decided not to do that after a conversation with the Metropolitan Council, as that is not a requirement for approval for the project. The Metropolitan Council ultimately grants that approval, and we've been working in conjunction with them throughout this project, and they have been in agreement that all public processes that ought to be followed have been followed. And we followed up with the Parks Commission for Ramsey County that offered a letter of support, as well as the St. Paul Parks and Recreation Department offered a letter of support for the project as well. We've been working with their staff who are supportive of the project moving forward.
Well, Madam Chair. Well, Mark,
thank you. Go ahead.
My office has been communicating with Mark for well over a month on this, and so I understand the process he's gone through, and I think he's done a great job at that. I'm just curious, is even though it's not required, there are a lot of things that are not required, but we just do out of just to bring more consensus to the decision. And so, so aside from going through a city council person, there's no formal city process that we should have followed, could have followed.
Mark, you spoke, Mark, about the support from Parks and Rec, both in the county and the city, correct?
Yes, that's Madam Chair.
Yes, go ahead.
Yep. Madam Chair, Commissioners, Commissioner Ortega. Yeah, I think if I understand your question, I mean, that we could have sought approval through the city council by either through the local council member or seeking another advocate to bring a resolution forward for a vote for the city council, and did not pursue that after we were communicated with by that local city council member who was not going to bring that forward. So yes, it was not required. We could have pursued that in another way and chose not to. So there could be a lesson learned there.
Okay.
Madam Chair, if I could share something on that, please.
On that point, Commissioner McDonough.
Yep. Thank you, because I was involved in some of those conversations. There are city council members that supported this, but they chose not to bring this politically charged issue to the city council to give that council member a platform to continue to raise these issues that have been raised by this small group in the community. And so they chose not to do it, even though they supported this, because that's how politically charged this has been from a very small group of people in the community.
Commissioner Ortega, allow your wrap up.
I understand. Mark and I have been in communications. I understand what's going on. My question is not the city council person. There was no other, when you talk about the Parks Commission, you're talking about our Parks Commission, correct?
Mark?
Madam Chair, Commissioner Ortega, that is correct. Talking about the Ramsey County Parks Commission and then the approval from the...
Outside the city council, there's no other process that would have included the city.
I believe that's
Mark?
correct.
Okay, that's what I'm asking. Because there is a lot of misinformation out there, and I'm trying to clarify the misinformation I've heard so people who are listening in could understand, because there is that kind of misinformation. There are claims that we didn't proceed with certain city procedures. And
Madam Chair, Commissioner Ortega, that's correct. There was no other process.
And so, Mark, I heard you say that we received a letter of support from the Ramsey County Parks. We did not receive a letter of support from the City of St. Paul Parks Commission. Is that correct?
Madam Chair, that is correct.
All right. Thank you very much. And thanks, Commissioner Ortega, for clarifying that.
Thank you, Mark.
I'm going to call on Commissioner Nicole Fretham. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Chair Carter. A couple of things. I'm going to ask if Mark could just maybe give us a little overview about what it is that we're doing, what are the concerns folks have raised, and then address those. I think that would be helpful. I know you and I have spoken about this when some of the emails first came in, and I was really appreciative of the time you took to explain that, and I think it's good to have that on the record as well. And especially if you could also add what community engagement was done, what opportunities there were for people to share. And I'll just note that the only feedback I've received from anyone in my district acknowledging that I'm about as far away from Pigs Eye Lake in terms of geographically in Ramsey County was frustration from someone who saw a notice about a call for community engagement over the summer. And like, why are we even doing this when we should be focusing on people who are struggling in a pandemic? So just noting that I got the complete opposite reaction from my constituents that our focus shouldn't be on community engagement on Pigs Eye Lake at this time. It should be on helping all the people who are hurt by the pandemic. That said, I would like to hear what community engagement was done in addition to just a brief description of the project and the concerns and why we believe they're unfounded.
So thank you, Mark. If you could just share that brief overview so we can read that into the record. We appreciate it. And then we'll work to move on.
Yes, Madam Chair, Commissioners, Commissioner Fretham, within the overall document, the Pigs Eye Master Plan Amendment, there's detailed descriptions of the community engagement that has taken place. You can look there for a full record and on the project website, which is under the Ramsey County Parks page. For a kind of brief overview of the community engagement process, this predates me, so started back in 2015 through 2020. There was a Pigs Eye feasibility study that was a joint effort with several agencies. There were two concurrent public review periods that incorporated environmental policy and guidelines that ran from March 12th, 2018 through April 12th of 2020. So there's a pretty extensive process there for public engagement and opportunity to provide impact. In 2018, there was a Parks and Recreation System Plan that took into account all park properties, including this property. They had several pop-up engagements as well as about 1,000 responses on electronic survey. So there's an opportunity for the public to comment there. From 2019 to the present, we've undergone the Battle Creek Regional Park Master Plan. Phase 1 kicked off in the spring of 2019 with online surveys, pop-up events, stakeholder discussions, and community forums. Phase 2 was fall of 2020 that had a public review period of 30-day public comment. Specifically for the Pigs Eye Master Plan Amendment, in 2020, from April 17th of 2020 to September 30th of 2020, there was a 45-day public review period for the Pigs Eye Master Plan Amendment where people could comment. The requirement is a 30-day, but because we have gotten concerns about opportunities for public feedback, we decided to extend that to 45 days. And there was also a virtual meeting that took place on September 17th of 2020 that we advertised through all of our public notices and channels where we engaged with the public specifically on the Pigs Eye Master Plan amendments. That was not a requirement from the Met Council to do that, but we took that as an additional initiative, again, as a reach out effort to make sure that people's voices were heard and questions were answered. And we've got frequently asked questions page on our project website as well that speaks to testing of material, of dredge material, of natural resource implications, of benefits to the project. All that information is detailed there, which I think speaks to a lot of the public's concerns that they've brought forward.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Fretham, for asking the question, and Mark, for your summary and response. Commissioner Reinhardt has a question, and I believe we will be positioned to move forward then. Commissioner Reinhardt.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And actually, Mark, you covered it very well. This is not something that hasn't that has been flying under the radar for a long time. I mean, there has been extensive community engagement. And I think and the information that's coming out, I think it is important to note that every time we've gotten something on this, our staff, but also as commissioners, we've looked into it to say, okay, what about this? Is there any part of this that, we need to really dig deeper in? And when we felt like we did, our staff did that digging and tried to figure out what was going on and got back to us. And so the fact is we have vetted this probably more than any other project that I can remember as far as community engagement. And I remember, I don't remember the exact quote, but I remember when we, a number of years ago when we had when we went to other jurisdictions, and we were in Toronto, I think it was, and the city council there was talking, and they said that a lot of times people think that one of the complaints is that you weren't listening. And the response was, we were listening, we just didn't agree. And so that doesn't mean that we're going to necessarily change what the outcome is, but that we have taken into consideration those concerns. And I know that our staff has. And so it is very frustrating. And I think that goes all the way back to Jim's email that he read into the record, is we do understand that this is sensitive. This is about the environment, and our board, and my background is in the environmental field, and have spent extensive number of hours going through this information. So this isn't something that any of us are taking lightly. But just because we didn't agree doesn't mean we weren't listening. And I think that that's very important here. The community engagement here has been absolutely tremendous. But we don't always agree, and that's okay as long as we do it respectfully. Thank you.
Thank you. I am going to ask, before we take the vote, Mark, if you would please briefly, in addition to having described the community engagement, briefly describe the project itself, and then we will move toward the vote. Thank you very much.
Madam Chair, Commissioners, the project being the master plan amendment that is in front of you, as you'll see in the description, because this is a regional park facility, the Metropolitan Council has the overall approval authority. And so as I think one thing to kind of separate out is the specific island building project within Pigs Eye Lake. That's a standalone project. The master plan amendment that is in front of you for the board action today. That is a piece that the Metropolitan Council advised Parks and Recreation to pursue so that we would be able to, one, engage the public further on this project, that we would be able to describe all the detail of the island building project and what that will entail for the environment, and detail out the environmental impacts of the project, of pursuing it. And so that was the process that we undertook, is putting together a master plan amendment focused on the natural resources of Pigs Eye Lake and how to improve those. And that's being done before any sort of increased access or recreational type of increased amenity or purpose is pursued, is trying to improve this natural resource. So it's a first step and probably a several step process, ultimately wanting to lead to a point where any pollution is remediated on the site, and ultimately that there's more recreation available. So the Metropolitan Council advised us to go through this process. We've gone through the master plan amendment process per their requirements, and are at a point where we've gone through the public engagement process, gathered all the background, produced the documents, and are ready to seek the Metropolitan Council's final approval once this is reviewed.
Thank you. I know that Commissioner Fretham had asked the question to be read into the record. We appreciate that you've acknowledged this is about enhancing the resource itself and the additional process of the master plan amendment, focused on the questions of the Met Council and the recommendation of the Met Council. I want to check with Commissioner Fretham before we move forward to the question. Commissioner Fretham.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Mark, for adding that clarification. I appreciate it. And also the extensive community engagement you outlined.
Thank you very much. We are then, having had a motion and a second and substantial discussion on this item, prepared to have a roll call vote. We'll ask for the roll call. Thank you.
McGuire,
Aye. Aye.
Ortega,
Aye.
Reinhardt,
Aye.
Fretham,
Aye.
Mattis Castillo,
Aye.
McDonough,
Aye.
Carter.
Aye. Thank you very much. And the item has passed. We're done with our administrative agenda. Thank you, Commissioner McGuire. And I'm going to turn to Commissioner McGuire again for our legislative update. Commissioner.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I will give our brief update. Thanks again to our government relations staff of Jennifer O'Rourke and Melissa Finnegan. And our team continues to meet. We love our meetings because we get to get the update on what's going on at the legislature with Commissioner Mattis Castillo and myself and Jennifer and Melissa. So thank you for that. I will just make a few remarks about what's going on down at the Capitol. So the February forecast is scheduled for February 26th. It's only 10 days away. So that will then be the framework for the budget that the legislature will be looking at. Recent revenue reports are positive. So we're looking forward to a positive report. And in January, the state collected $296 million more than anticipated. So we are hopeful for a good report. The legislature will keep reviewing the governor's budget, and then we'll be coming up with their own based on this February forecast. Unfortunately, in the governor's budget, which the legislature is reviewing now, there are a couple of places where we are worried because the state and the governor's budget has really passed down costs to the counties. This is two examples are in the Metro Transit budget where they push capital costs for bus, rapid transit, and light rail to the counties. This is a huge impact on counties, of course, on the counties that incorporate the light rail and bus rapid transit. And so we are really concerned about that, and we'll be working hard to, to let the state know that there's a lot of impact on county, that there's a huge negative impact on us, and we'll let our legislators know the same thing. Another example of shifting costs, and we're not unfamiliar with shifting costs, but these are dramatic ones, is our Community Corrections Act funding in the Department of Corrections budget, where they are not funding us as much as we need, because these are costs that we as a Community Corrections Act county are bearing when the state should be helping with those. So those are two areas that we're going to keep an eye on, and we have allies with the Association of Minnesota Counties on the CCA funding and Hennepin County, and we have allies on the transit funding as well, but we'll be working on those. The other issue that has been happening at the legislature is the SAFE Act, the SAFE Act bill that is taking on two different versions at the legislature. The Senate passed their version that reallocates local government aid and county program aid from local jurisdictions who have outstanding mutual aid bills. We were very vocal in that conversation with our legislators because we had strong concerns over that. We don't feel that county program aid or local government aid should be impacted by outstanding mutual aid bills. So we're working on that. The House was going to take up Representative Mariani's SAFE bill, which does something similar. It doesn't do that similar, but it does help local governments bear costs when there's an impact on their local communities from
from other events, violent events, or other civil unrest events that go on in their communities. They're not companion bills, but each body is handling it differently, and the House tabled theirs. So more to come on the whole civil unrest and how local communities are impacted. Then the rest of the bills are just being worked on. The first deadline is less than a month away. Oh my goodness. So, and on the federal side, impeachment is behind us now. The Senate can turn its focus to the president's COVID-19 rescue plan. And we are hopeful that they will pass a plan like the president proposed, because it does provide direct aid to local government and state governments, similar to the CARES funding, but with less restrictions, which is very good news for us. And we could stand to get a significant amount of money in direct appropriation, and that would really help out our costs. So hopefully that will happen at the federal level. And with that, I would ask any of my colleagues who have been testifying at the legislature to talk about anything they've been working on. And I just thank everyone for their work on these issues. Thanks, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner McGuire. I have Commissioner McDonough's hand. Commissioner.
Thanks, Chair Carter. Commissioner McGuire, I appreciate you bringing to our attention the two areas that will be of concern in cost shifts. I did want to clarify, though, because you indicated the shift in the transportation bill in relation to transit was shifting the capital costs onto counties. We already bear all the non-federal capital costs. We've already taken that on in past bills. And we currently do 50% of the operating. What they're proposing here is to shift that final 50% of operating onto counties. So all of capital, all of operating would be a county responsibility. And as you pointed out, that's pretty unjust for basically two counties. It would affect Washington and Anoka a little bit too. So, but I just wanted to make sure we clarified what that shift was.
Thank you, Commissioner McDonough, for clarifying that. Yes, a slight typo in my notes, because you're right. It is the operating cost. Thank you.
Thank you. This is a drip by drip effect, it seems, and just pulls up too harshly for counties. Commissioner Matis Castillo.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to add one other thing. Yesterday, staff and myself met with John Kelly from the governor's office, who is the bonding aid policy director for the governor's office. We had a great conversation specifically talking about the Great River Rail, or the second train. It was a very positive conversation, and he indicated that the governor's bonding bill should be coming out the week of the 22nd, I suppose in line with the budget forecast. And so we all will be paying close attention to bonding as that is released in the governor's bill. Again, we have continued momentum on Great River Rail, and I really appreciate Commissioner Ortega as the rail chair, who is working really hard to get in contact both with the governor's office as well by sending a letter. Thank you, Commissioner Ortega. And I know you also have a letter ready for Senator Bach, so we appreciate that work, but wanted to just share it's working, and we had a positive conversation. And so hopefully we will see that demonstrated as that bill comes out.
Thank you very much. Commissioner Ortega.
Thank you, Madam Chair. First of all, last Friday, I sit on the Southwest Light Rail Change Board. And obviously the Hennepin County Commissioners, there was about 3 of them there that sit on that committee, were quite upset over what came out in terms of the transit budget from the governor's office. And then last night, I had conversations with Marion Green, the Hennepin County Commissioner and Chair, about where they were at with this. I think, as Jim pointed out, that the impact is greatest to Hennepin and Ramsey County. It does impact our future transit. I mean, we've taken you know, first of all, we've taken a hit like everybody else with the sales tax. So that's number one. We've readjusted our budget and we have our dollars laid out for the gold line, the rush line, which are the ones that are going to get impacted immediately on our side. And I know we're going to have a meeting later on to discuss this, but we do have to get in sync, I think, with Hennepin, because the impact to us long-term it's a negative impact on planning for transit. It is the counties who do the initial planning on transit issues. And it is a real handicap. And it, quite frankly, it divorces the state from what I think is a key responsibilities. I mean, my understanding of the state constitution is that it's education and transportation as the two mandates for the state. So we need to really get synchronized, I think, with Hennepin and get on the same page and be good advocates on this issue. This issue is it has long tails in terms of negative impact. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We appreciate the update, the questions, and certainly we are working to ensure that we are on a consistent page with Hennepin and advocating against this change. I appreciate your thoughts, Commissioner Ortega, regarding how this does, in fact, divorce the state from its constitutional mandates in the area of transportation. And we will be working hard to conquer and to build forward, as we have a plan that helps us to support the transportation projects, the transit projects we've envisioned for a long time. And this puts quite a dent into our ability to continue that work that we planned so hard for and that our constituents have supported. Thank you again, Commissioner McGuire.
Madam Chair, yeah, if I could just thank my colleagues so much, Commissioner Ortega, McDonough, Matas Castillo. I mean, we all care about these transit issues and this transportation. You're such strong voices in this, so we will be strong voice in this and we do need to work with Hennepin County. I just want to say I appreciate all of my colleagues' comments on this. This is one of those really big deals that we will all need to be all hands on deck on this one. So thank you.
Commissioner McDonough, Commissioner Ortega, thank you for your strong voices in that regard, and you know that you are supported here on this board. We have a couple of workshops ahead of us. I'm going to move to the county manager for our county connections update, and then we'll follow swiftly with commissioners updates so that we can move on to our workshops for the day. County Manager O'Connor, County Connection.
Thank you, Madam Chair. 2 updates today. The evaluation team that's been a part of the incident management team crafted a survey for the businesses that received funding through our small business supports from round 1 and 2 that were asked specifically. They were asked to answer questions specifically about their business, the experience applying for the grant, and through that process, I just wanted to first of all commend Dana DeMaster and the entire evaluation team for leading that work, for Carrie Collins and her team for evaluating the surveys that come back. The partnership was big, and they've been able to share some of the cards of thanks they've been receiving from small businesses across our community, talking about how big of a difference those grants made in the difference between being able to remain solvent and not. It also, as a part of our ongoing conversations around CARES expenditures and funding, it provides an important marker that we can learn from. As Commissioner McGuire mentioned, the potential of future federal funding. We've been doing similar evaluative work across all areas of our CARES work this year, and I wanted to highlight this as one of those examples so that we can learn from mistakes or areas where we can do better, build on the things that worked well, and ultimately ensure that the resources that become available can be deployed to a community in need. Second, I wanted to highlight that Sarah Holly, one of our racial and health equity administrators, has been selected to receive the Excellence in Racial Healing Award at the May 21st summit of the annual African American Mental Health Summit. The AMHS Summit is a forum where many mental health providers, schools, corrections, and philanthropists, foundations, the Department of Human Services, Minnesota Department of Health, and others spend a day together listening and learning new skills or approaches to practice in their various fields. At this summit, they also give awards to individuals or organizations that have made great impacts in equity and mental health and other related issues to equity and inclusion across our communities and organizations. So huge credit to Sarah. I know you all will not be surprised that she's being recognized for this award based on her tireless efforts here at home, and really excited to share that with you. With that, Madam Chair, I conclude County Connections.
Thank you very, very much. We appreciate those two updates, and also give our congratulations to Sarah Holly for the work that she has done with us and in our communities. Just being celebrated for this area of work in and of itself, a huge accomplishment, you know, given the difficulties of healing from racial discrimination, building toward racial equity in our communities. We know the huge work that that is, but to be recognized for taking that on bravely, courageously, and also innovatively with our community is quite an accomplishment. So very, very much thanks. I'm looking to see if there are any questions from my list of commissioners. I see none. We're going to move forward then. Thank you for County Connections update. And I will start with Commissioner Ortega. We'll move back around the alphabet, concluding with Commissioner McGuire. Commissioner Ortega.
No further report, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. Commissioner Reinhardt.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I assume that Commissioner McGuire will probably also talk about the series that is being done through Do Good Roseville and others, including Ramsey County Libraries, regarding conversations on race. And I was part of the discussion one of the evenings last week, and it was about white supremacy, overt and covert, and really having just straight talk about, you know, what is happening and what can we do? How can we dedicate ourselves to really trying to take it on and change the way we do things. Let's see here. The National Association of Counties, the Environment and Energy and Land Use Committee, of course, we're getting ready for both the AMC conference and the NACO conference. And other than that, I will end it with that. There was a lot of meetings last week.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Reinhardt. Commissioner Fretham.
Thank you, Chair Carter. I just really want to take a moment and applaud one of our Ramsey County staff, Silence Marsh in the elections department was integral in ensuring that one of our election judges who has been struggling to get her payment not only went above and beyond to find a way to make it accessible for her to be paid, but actually went to her workplace and hand delivered the payment card. And there is no more emblematic way to show residents first than that. So thank you so much, Silence. Really appreciate that. And to our election judge who really patiently went through some things to get that done. So thank you.
Thank you. How important it is that we recognize those who provide service in that way. Thank you so much to Silence. Going on then to Commissioner Matis Castillo.
Thanks, Madam Chair. I just wanted to share that our library work group has finished our work after a series of 4 meetings. Commissioners and library board members and the county administrative staff should expect an email either later today or early tomorrow with a wrap up of recommendations. We feel like we finished the work. We set out to work on some issues that were causing difficulties working together, but we think we have a really good path moving forward. So we have accomplished such mission, and you'll get a full wrap up and also an invitation for us as a county board to go to a library board meeting. As you know, a few months ago, the library board came to a work a workshop for us. And so we're going to return the favor and take a visit there for those who are available as we share the outcomes of that meeting. And then the last thing, I just want to give an extra plug. I had the opportunity this weekend to go to the Como Zoo and Conservatory, which is a tremendous asset in our community. And we went on Valentine's Day when, it was 16 below zero. And I have to tell you, I highly recommend everybody take a trip there to get inside where it's warm. You make a reservation online. It's very safe, socially distanced. It's a one-way trip in. They have a tour. You can take a stroll as slow or as quickly as you want, but just to absorb that warm air, and all the fruit trees have fruit on them, and it just gives a little more hope as we get through this long, dark winter. So I encourage you to check out the Como Zoo and Conservatory, which is in District 3.
Thank you for your positive report and recommendation of a stroll through Como, and also for the positive work that's been done on the library with the library board. We look forward to what appears to be a positive building forward report and visit to come. Appreciate it. And Commissioner McDonough.
Thanks, Chair Carter. I'll do a couple of brief ones. The board's gotten updates on our transition on our continuum of care heading home Ramsey. We had our kickoff meeting of the governing board last week, last Thursday. 25 new members or some returning that have been involved, but a lot of energy in the room, a lot of excitement about moving forward there. The steering committee will kick off this Thursday, so we're moving forward on that. I know a number of us attended the Micah annual legislative breakfast where we got to hear some updates on some of the work that Mike is doing. I attended a SHAC meeting. Oh gosh, I use SHAC all the time in the acronym, but it's our state health board, advisory health board. And so I was able to, one of the messages I carried forward at that board that I think was really important was consistent with the conversation this board had last week. We did, again, it came up in our conversations around COVID. And then Chair Carter signed a letter that was signed by many organizations this past weekend about the equity and the impact on that, and how it's really highlighted the kind of the institutional biases and racisms that we have, both in how our communities of color have gotten higher rates of exposure and COVID positives, and how the response in vaccinations has been less, and the opportunities for them. And so we had a nice conversation about that, but really bringing awareness to so many else in the state that don't necessarily see those. Then I wanted to just bring this one up because it kind of matches that theme in a little bit, but Commissioner Mattis-Castillo and I were able to provide a proclamation to the family of Marner Saw and KOM, Korean Organization of Minnesota. We recognized Korean New Year here a few meetings ago, but Brian, you may actually remember Marner when you were the policy analyst. If you recall, we actually went to meet with the Commissioner of Public Safety at that time. I'm having a mental block on her name, but we went with the leaders from the Korean organization. Marner was there. They were having extreme difficulty passing the license test because of the language issue. And at that meeting, we found out that you could actually get the test in like 10 languages, but it was built on the past, right? The German immigrants could do it, the French immigrants could do it, but it hadn't responded and adjusted with the times. And so immediately, and I give a lot of credit to the commissioner at that time, immediately they changed and added opportunity to have that translated into Korean. But that just gives an example of Marner's impact on the Korean community. He was an early refugee, and it's really hit that community hard. So I was really appreciative that Commissioner Mattis-Castillo and I were able to present the resolution to the family. We did it first time I've personally been in the community since last March. We did it with 10 people. We all had masks. We all had our spots away, but it was pretty emotional. Just being in a room with people and being able to see people and see the emotion and feel the impact that just that proclamation had on those individuals in the room. It was televised back to Burma to a lot of the Karen that are still stuck in refugee camps. So appreciate Chair Carter signing on to that and the county manager signing on to that also. So thank you for that opportunity for the update, Chair Carter.
And thank you very, very much. I lost my ears during your update, but I'm back in, and so having a little bit of technical difficulty. Thank you again, Commissioner McDonough. We'll move on to Commissioner McGuire.
Thank you, Madam Chair. That's such a great update, Commissioner McDonough, with you and Commissioner Mattis Castillo presenting that award. That is a proclamation. That is a great work, and we know in Ramsey County we have one of the largest Karen communities in the country here. So that's great work. I want to first start by thanking Commissioner Mattis Castillo for her great leadership on the library work group. It was tough sometimes, but it was a great group. And Commissioner Fathom and I and Commissioner Mattis Castillo really worked with the great members of the library board. We've always said how amazing our library board is, and they are really committed to residents first and to the work of, to what we all want for our county residents. And so I think it was a great, it was a great outcome, and we'll continue to work on that. So thank you, Commissioner Mattis Castillo. Also on Friday morning was the Ramsey County League of Local Governments breakfast, or was not a breakfast, but a meeting. There was their legislative event, and they focused on mental health issues. So that is continuing to be a focus of that group of the League of Local Governments. We picked it last year, and we're going to continue to do sessions. I think about every other time will be some focus on mental health, which I'm very proud of, and I'm glad that we're doing that. Just want to say thanks, Commissioner Reinhardt, for bringing up the Do Good Roseville conversations around race that our libraries are a part of. Those are such amazing conversations, and if ever you get a chance to participate in one, they truly do impact you. So thank you for that. Just to remind people, the AMC conference is this Thursday in the morning. Governor Walz will be speaking, and Susan Brower, the state demographer, and they're having a legislative panel with legislators that are former county commissioners. So that will be interesting. But that's on, and then policy committees will be in the afternoon. So that's this Thursday. And I want to also say that the NACO Central Region Committee meeting, which is, we are part of the Central Region in NACO, and they meet at 1:15 today. And I just, to let you know, I'll be introducing my candidacy and myself at that meeting early on, because we have a workshop at 1:30, but I'll be talking to the Central Region today. So I'm very, very excited about that. So thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner McGuire. Commissioner Ortega. Oh, wait a minute. I did that already.
I'm the last.
Thank you. Don't do it again. And so I will just mention that there have been a lot of meetings this past week. I'll highlight that Commissioner McGuire and I were together at the Children's Collaborative, an abbreviated meeting indeed, because we have conflicting meetings on top of meetings. I also was able to attend and share with the MICA gathering the work that this county has been doing in response to the housing crisis in our community, including looking forward toward an affordable housing levy that we are working to implement this coming year. Finally, I participated in the Community First Public Safety meeting of the City of St. Paul. We will be hearing later today in a workshop that we're working to get to after a 10-minute break here, more about the work that we've been doing in partnership with our communities around prevention strategies and alternative strategies for a healthy and safe community. That team, the Community First Public Safety Commission, will be presenting its recommendations to the City of St. Paul in May. Its meetings through April are understanding research and best practices and data around our experiences here in St. Paul and Ramsey County with police calls, and looking to develop recommendations for addressing priority 4 and 5 police calls, which are the lower priority calls in the City of St. Paul. So thank you very much. I do want to share that we have a couple of workshops coming up at 10 o'clock. Commissioner Ortega will lead us in a safety and justice service team workshop. I might have said at 10 o'clock, I meant 10 minutes after this meeting is adjourned. And then this afternoon at 1:30, Commissioner McGuire will share an update on Ramsey County redevelopment projects status and next steps. So I want to, as we move toward a close, just check back in. Yes.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
And maybe I just missed it, but did we get our updates from Commissioner Montes Castillo and Bretham?
Yes.
Yes.
We did? Okay. Must have been quick. Okay. I just wanted to make sure. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And so we are moving toward a close. Check back, and we have no further comments from commissioners. I want to appreciate the time that you've taken here. Ask for a 10-minute break. It is 10:40 now. Why don't we reconvene then at 10:50 for our workshop? And we do have a separate link for that workshop, which is the Safety and Justice Work Group meeting. And with that, commissioners, we are adjourned.
Thank you.
Good meeting.
Good meeting, everyone.
Many small businesses, in fact, with under 20, many under 5 employees. Those businesses, who are largely businesses of color and low-income individuals, have struggled to be able